Vikings were growing crops that could survive conditions worse than nuclear winter over 1,000 years ago. Today, we're discovering 12 forgotten seeds Vikings mastered that modern preppers are just now rediscovering. Survival insurance policies that could keep you fed when everything else fails. 6-row barley. The indestructible grain. Hordeum vulgar variety hexasticon. Vikings didn't just grow barley, they perfected the cultivation of 6-row barley, a variety so tough it makes modern wheat look like a hothouse flour. This grain could germinate in temperatures that would kill most crops and mature in growing seasons as short as 90 days. Archaeological evidence from Greenland shows Vikings successfully grew this barley in conditions that would challenge even today's cold-weather farmers. Eric the Red's settlements harvested barley at latitudes where modern farmers wouldn't even attempt grain production. The secret lies in the plant's unique genetic structure. 6-row barley produces 6 rows of kernels around each seed head instead of the typical 2 rows, creating a grain powerhouse that maximizes food production in minimal growing time. Each plant can produce up to 50 seed heads, with each head containing 150 to 200 individual grains. When you're facing a 90-day growing season in Greenland, that kind of efficiency means the difference between survival and starvation. Modern science confirms what Vikings knew instinctively. 6-row barley contains higher protein levels than 2-row varieties and produces more grain per plant. The thick hull acts like natural armor, protecting the grain from radiation, moisture, and pests for years of storage. NASA has actually studied barley's radiation resistance for potential Mars missions, finding that the hull provides significant protection against cosmic radiation. The grain can survive temperature fluctuations from -40 degrees Fahrenheit to 100 degrees Fahrenheit without losing viability. You can still find 6-row barley seeds through heritage seed companies. Look for varieties like Robust or Moravian 3 that maintain the cold hardiness of ancient strains. Planted in early spring when soil temperatures reach 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Yes, that cold. The seeds will sit dormant until conditions are right, then explode into growth. It's like having a grain that treats nuclear winter as just another Tuesday. But if you think barley is tough, wait until you discover the grain Vikings ate straight from the plant, without any processing whatsoever. Naked oats, the survival superfood. Avena nuda. While we obsess over steel-cut oats at the grocery store, Vikings grew naked oats, a hull-less variety that's basically nature's ready-to-eat survival food. These oats could be consumed straight from the plant, without processing, making them the original MRE. Viking settlements in Iceland and Greenland relied on these oats when other crops failed, and archaeological evidence shows they were often the last food source standing during the harshest winters. The name naked oats comes from the fact that the grain separates cleanly from its hull during threshing, unlike regular oats that require specialized equipment to remove the tough outer coating. This meant Vikings could harvest, thresh with simple tools, and immediately have edible grain. No mills, no complex processing, just instant nutrition when survival was on the line. What makes naked oats truly remarkable is their ability to thrive in conditions that would devastate other grains. The nutritional profile reads like a modern superfood label: complete proteins with all essential amino acids, beta-glucan for heart health and immune system support, and slow-release carbohydrates that sustained Viking warriors through brutal winters. Research shows naked oats contain 25% more protein than regular oats, 40% more fat for essential calories, and higher levels of iron and zinc, crucial minerals for surviving harsh conditions. The beta-glucan content helps regulate blood sugar, preventing the energy crashes that could be fatal during survival situations. They can germinate in soil temperatures as low as 38 degrees Fahrenheit and continue growing even when nighttime temperatures drop below freezing. The plants develop a waxy coating on their leaves that prevents frost damage, and the root system can penetrate frozen soil to access nutrients other plants can't reach. Heritage seed suppliers still carry naked oat varieties. Plant them at a rate of 2 to 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet, and you'll harvest 30 to 50 pounds of ready-to-eat grain. It's like having a crop that practically plants itself and delivers restaurant-quality nutrition. Speaking of grains that laugh at harsh conditions, there's one crop Vikings discovered that actually requires freezing temperatures to reach its full potential. Winter rye, the unstoppable grain. Sakal cereal. Vikings discovered that winter rye wasn't just cold-tolerant, it was cold-loving. This grain actually requires freezing temperatures to trigger proper growth, making it the perfect nuclear winter crop. Archaeological sites across Scandinavia show rye was often the last crop standing when harsh weather destroyed everything else. In fact, Rye saved entire Viking settlements during the medieval warm period's end, when temperatures dropped dramatically across northern Europe. The science behind winter rye's cold hardiness is fascinating. The plant develops an antifreeze protein system that prevents ice crystals from forming in plant cells, similar to what Arctic fish use to survive in freezing water. This biological antifreeze allows the plant to remain metabolically active even when temperatures drop well below freezing. Modern agricultural studies confirm it can survive soil temperatures of -30 degrees Fahrenheit and actually improves in flavor and nutritional content after frost exposure. Winter rye's survival strategy is unlike any other grain. In fall, it germinates and develops a small crown of leaves close to the ground. As winter approaches, the plant goes dormant, but continues developing its root system underground. These roots can extend up to 6 feet deep, creating an extensive network that can find nutrients and water when surface conditions are impossible. When spring arrives, the established root system allows the plant to explode into growth, often producing grain weeks before spring-planted crops even emerge. The nutritional benefits increase with cold exposure. Freezing temperatures trigger the plant to produce higher levels of amino acids, particularly lysine, which is often deficient in grain-based diets. The cold stress also increases the plant's mineral content, particularly iron, zinc, and magnesium. Planted in late summer or early fall, about 6 to 8 weeks before your first hard frost. It's like having a crop with a built-in snooze button that wakes up exactly when you need it most. Enjoying raiding the past with us? Then consider using YouTube's new feature and hype this video. It really helps a small channel like mine get more views and allows me to create more content. To hype the video on your mobile device, swipe left on the comment preview carousel until the option to hype the video surfaces, or tap, and the carousel will change to show the option to hype. Your support helps a ton. Now back to the forgotten Viking seeds. Field peas, the nitrogen factories. Pisum arvense. Vikings understood something modern farmers are rediscovering. Field peas don't just survive harsh conditions, they actually improve the soil while doing it. These legumes fix nitrogen from the air, essentially fertilizing themselves and neighboring crops. Viking agricultural sites show field peas were often grown alongside grains to boost overall yields, creating sustainable farming systems that could maintain productivity even in marginal soils. The nitrogen-fixing ability of field peas is like having a fertilizer factory built into your crop. Specialized bacteria in root nodules convert atmospheric nitrogen into plant-available forms, adding 40 to 100 pounds of nitrogen per acre to the soil. This means field peas not only feed your family, but also prepare the ground for next year's grain crops. Vikings rotated field peas with barley and rye, creating a system that maintained soil fertility without external inputs. Field peas can germinate in soil temperatures as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit and tolerate frost that would devastate other legumes. The plants actually prefer cool, moist conditions and can continue growing even when temperatures drop to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. This cold tolerance allowed Vikings to plant them early in spring and harvest late into fall, extending the growing season when every day of food production mattered. The survival characteristics go beyond cold tolerance. Field peas have a deep taproot system that can access water and nutrients from depths other plants can't reach. Nutritionally, field peas are a complete survival food. The plants produce edible pods, leaves, and seeds, making them a complete package. The young shoots and leaves can be eaten like spinach, providing fresh greens early in the season. The pods can be harvested young and eaten like snow peas, or left to mature for dried peas that store for years. Modern nutritional analysis shows they contain all essential amino acids, making them a complete protein source that could sustain life even without other foods. They can be planted as soon as soil can be worked in spring and will produce food in just 60 to 80 days. It's like having a crop that pays rent by improving your garden while feeding your family. If field peas impressed you with their versatility, wait until you discover the massive legume that Vikings grew to towering heights, even in polar conditions. Broad beans, the cold weather protein powerhouse. Vicia faba. While modern gardeners baby their beans, Vikings grew broad beans that thrived in conditions that would make a polar bear shiver. These massive legumes could produce protein-rich food in growing seasons too short and cold for other beans. Archaeological evidence from Norse settlements shows broad beans were a dietary staple from Iceland to Russia, often serving as the primary protein source during long winters when meat was scarce. Broad beans, also known as fava beans, are Unlike any other legume in their cold tolerance, they can germinate in soil temperatures as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit and continue growing even when nighttime temperatures drop to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. The plants actually prefer cool, moist conditions and will stop producing in hot weather, making them perfect for northern climates where other beans fail completely. Vikings could plant them in early spring, often while snow was still on the ground, and harvest protein-rich pods throughout the short growing season. The plants themselves are impressive survival machines. Broad beans can grow up to 6 feet tall, creating their own windbreak system that protects smaller crops. The thick, waxy stems and leaves resist frost damage, and the deep root system can access water and nutrients from depths other plants can't reach. The plants are naturally resistant to most pests and diseases, and their size and vigor allow them to outcompete weeds without cultivation. What makes broad beans truly remarkable is their nutritional profile. The beans contain 25 to 30% protein with all essential amino acids, making them a complete protein source. They're also rich in iron, zinc, magnesium, and B vitamins, crucial nutrients for surviving harsh conditions. But there's something else that made them particularly valuable to Vikings. Broad beans contain LDOPA, a compound that boosts mental alertness and mood. This natural antidepressant effect was crucial for surviving long, dark winters when seasonal depression could be life-threatening. Plant them in early spring, even before your last frost date. A single plant can produce 2 to 3 pounds of beans over the growing season. They're like having a protein factory that operates best in conditions that shut down everything else. But if you think beans are impressive survivors, wait until you discover the root vegetable that Vikings used as their underground treasure vault: turnips, the underground survival cache. Brassica rapa. Vikings treated turnips like underground treasure chests, and for good reason. These roots could stay in frozen ground all winter, providing fresh food when stored supplies ran low. The entire plant is edible: roots, leaves, and even the flowers, making turnips a complete survival system in one package. Archaeological evidence from Greenland and Iceland shows turnip storage pits that allowed Vikings to harvest fresh vegetables, even in the depths of winter, when temperatures dropped to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The secret to turnips' incredible survival ability lies in their unique cellular structure. Unlike most vegetables that turn to mush when frozen, turnips contain natural antifreeze compounds that prevent ice crystal formation in their cells. This allows them to survive repeated freeze-thaw cycles without losing texture or nutritional value. Modern studies show that turnips can remain in frozen ground for up to 6 months and actually improve in flavor as cold temperatures convert starches to sugars. Vikings discovered that turnips planted in late summer would develop large roots by fall, then could be left in the ground throughout winter. The tops would die back with the first hard frost, but the roots would remain alive and fresh underground. When food stores ran low during the harsh winter months, Vikings could dig through snow and frozen soil to harvest fresh turnips, essentially using the earth as a natural refrigerator. The entire turnip plant serves as a survival system. The leaves, known as turnip greens, are among the most nutritious vegetables available, containing more vitamin A than carrots, more vitamin C than oranges, and more calcium than milk. Vikings would harvest the greens throughout the growing season for fresh nutrition, then rely on the roots for winter sustenance. Even the flowers are edible and provide a source of fresh food in early spring before other plants emerge. Turnips' growing characteristics make them perfect for survival situations. They can grow in poor soils where other crops fail, tolerate both drought and excessive moisture, and are naturally resistant to most pests and diseases. Plant turnips in mid to late summer for winter harvest or early spring for summer eating. They're like having a root cellar that plants itself and improves with age. Speaking of roots that get sweeter with cold, there's one vegetable that becomes nature's candy only after winter works its magic: parsnips, the sweet survival root. Pastinaca sativa. Vikings discovered that parsnips were nature's candy, but only after winter's harsh treatment. These roots require freezing temperatures to convert their starches into sugars, making them sweeter after surviving conditions that would kill most plants. Norse settlements relied on parsnips as a reliable carbohydrate source through the harshest months, and archaeological evidence shows they were often the primary root vegetable in northern settlements where other crops couldn't survive. The transformation that occurs in parsnips during winter is nothing short of miraculous. Fresh parsnips are woody, bitter, and nearly inedible. But after exposure to temperatures below 32 degrees Fahrenheit for several weeks, enzymes in the root convert stored starches into natural sugars, creating a sweet, tender vegetable that tastes like a cross between carrots and honey. This process, called sweetening, can increase the sugar content by up to 300%, turning an unpalatable root into a delicacy. The science behind this transformation reveals why parsnips were so valuable to Vikings. The plant produces these sugars as a natural antifreeze, preventing ice crystals from forming in the root cells. This biological antifreeze allows parsnips to survive soil temperatures well below freezing while maintaining their cellular structure. Modern studies show parsnips can survive soil temperatures of negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit and actually become more nutritious with cold exposure, developing higher levels of vitamins and minerals. Parsnip's survival strategy is perfectly adapted to harsh northern climates. The long taproot, which can extend 2 to 3 feet deep, allows the plant to access water and nutrients from depths other vegetables can't reach. This deep root system also anchors the plant against harsh winds and helps it survive in rocky, poor soils where other crops fail. The root continues to grow and store energy throughout the fall, reaching peak size and nutritional content just as winter arrives. The nutritional profile of cold, sweetened parsnips is impressive. They're packed with potassium for heart health, fiber for digestive function, and vitamin C for immune system support, all crucial nutrients for winter survival. Plant them in early spring and leave them in the ground through winter for the sweetest harvest. It's like having a crop that uses winter as a natural food processor. But roots weren't the only vegetables Vikings mastered for winter survival. They also grew leafy greens that could withstand repeated freezing. Cabbage, the vitamin C fortress. Brassica oleracea. Long before anyone understood scurvy, Vikings grew cabbage varieties that could survive freezing temperatures while maintaining their vitamin C content. These weren't the delicate cabbages of modern gardens. They were hardy survivors that could withstand repeated freeze-thaw cycles and still provide crucial nutrition. Archaeological evidence from Norse settlements shows specialized cabbage storage techniques that kept these vitamin powerhouses fresh throughout winter, preventing the nutritional deficiencies that plagued other medieval populations. Viking cabbage varieties developed thick, waxy leaves that acted like natural insulation, protecting the inner head from temperature extremes. These cabbages could survive temperatures down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit and actually taste better after light frost, which breaks down bitter compounds and concentrates flavors. The outer leaves would freeze and thaw repeatedly, but the inner head remained protected and fresh, creating a natural preservation system that required no processing or special storage. The vitamin C content of cold hardy cabbages is remarkable. Modern analysis shows these varieties contain higher levels of vitamin C than warm weather cabbages, with some cold hardy types containing more vitamin C per serving than citrus fruits. This high vitamin C content was crucial for preventing scurvy during long winters when fresh foods were unavailable. Vikings unknowingly created one of the most effective scurvy prevention systems in the medieval world simply by growing the right cabbage varieties. The preservation techniques Vikings developed around cabbage were ingenious. They would harvest mature heads in late fall, then store them in underground pits lined with stones and covered with layers of straw and soil. These storage pits maintained temperatures just above freezing, keeping cabbages fresh for 4 to 6 months. Some settlements also developed fermentation techniques, creating sauerkraut-like preserves that provided probiotics and extended the storage life even further. Cold hardy cabbages also have unique growing characteristics that make them perfect for survival situations. They can be planted in late summer and will continue growing even as temperatures drop, often reaching full size after other crops have been killed by frost. The plants are naturally resistant to most pests and diseases, and their thick leaves protect them from wind damage that destroys other vegetables. Look for cold, hardy varieties like January King, Dedon, or Brunswick. Plant them in midsummer for winter harvest. They're like having a vitamin factory that operates best when everything else shuts down. Speaking of vegetables that provide essential nutrients, there's one crop that served triple duty as food, medicine, and natural preservative. Onions, the natural preservatives. Allium Shipa. Vikings understood that onions weren't just food, they were medicine and preservation system rolled into one. These bulbs could survive freezing in the ground and contained natural compounds that prevented spoilage in other stored foods. Archaeological sites show onions were grown wherever Vikings settled, from Greenland to Russia, and storage areas often contained layers of onions mixed with other preserved foods to extend their shelf life naturally. The preservation power of onions comes from their high concentration of sulfur compounds, particularly allicin and quercetin, which act as natural antibiotics and antifungals. Vikings would layer onions between stored grains, dried meats, and other preserved foods, creating natural preservation systems that could keep food fresh for months without refrigeration. Modern food science confirms that these compounds can inhibit the growth of harmful bacteria and molds that cause food spoilage. Cold-hardy onion varieties developed by Vikings could survive soil freezing and actually develop stronger flavors and higher concentrations of beneficial compounds in cold conditions. The layered structure of onion bulbs provides natural insulation, protecting the growing point from temperature extremes. The outer layers would freeze and thaw repeatedly, but the inner core remained alive and continued growing slowly, even in near-freezing conditions. The medicinal properties of onions were crucial for Viking survival. The sulfur compounds that give onions their strong flavor also provide powerful antimicrobial effects, helping prevent infections and illnesses that could be fatal in harsh conditions. Vikings would eat raw onions to prevent scurvy, use onion poultices to treat wounds and infections, and brew onion teas to combat respiratory ailments common during long, cold winters. The quercetin content also provides anti-inflammatory effects and supports immune system function. Vikings developed sophisticated onion growing and storage techniques. They would plant onion sets in early spring, then harvest mature bulbs in late summer. The bulbs were then cured in the sun for several days to develop thick, papery outer skins that provided natural protection. Properly cured onions could be stored for 6 to 8 months in cool, dry conditions, providing fresh flavor and nutrition throughout winter. They're like having a pharmacy and spice rack that grows itself and improves with harsh treatment. If onions are versatile survivors, there's one root vegetable that becomes sweeter than candy after surviving nuclear winter conditions: carrots, the cold sweet survivors. Docus carota. Vikings grew carrots that were nothing like the orange supermarket varieties we know today. These were typically purple, white, or yellow roots that became incredibly sweet after exposure to freezing temperatures. The cold hardiness allowed Vikings to harvest fresh vegetables even in the depths of winter, and the natural sweetening process provided crucial calories and morale-boosting treats during the harshest months of the year. The original Viking carrots were far more diverse and hardy than modern varieties. Purple carrots contained high levels of anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that helped protect against cellular damage from harsh environmental conditions. White carrots were often the sweetest after cold exposure, while yellow varieties provided high levels of beta-carotene for eye health and immune system support. This diversity ensured that Vikings had access to different nutritional profiles and flavors throughout the storage season. Cold exposure triggers carrots to produce natural antifreeze compounds while converting starches to sugars, creating a survival mechanism that Vikings learned to exploit. The process begins when soil temperatures drop below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, causing the carrot to start converting stored starches into sugars that act as cellular antifreeze. After several weeks of cold exposure, carrots can become 2 to 3 times sweeter than when first harvested, transforming from a starchy root into a natural candy. The deep taproot system of heritage carrots allows them to access water and nutrients from depths other plants can't reach, making them incredibly drought and cold resistant once established. These roots can penetrate 2 to 3 feet deep, anchoring the plant against harsh winds and accessing moisture even when surface soil is frozen solid. The taproot also concentrates nutrients, making cold-stored carrots more nutritious than fresh ones. Vikings discovered that carrots could survive soil temperatures well below freezing and actually become more nutritious with cold stress. Modern analysis shows that cold-exposed carrots contain higher levels of vitamin A, vitamin C, and minerals like potassium and calcium. Heritage varieties like Purple Haze, Lunar White, and Yellowstone are available from heritage seed companies. Plant them in midsummer for winter harvest, leaving them in the ground until needed. They're like having a root cellar that sweetens itself through winter storage. Speaking of plants that provide multiple benefits, there's one crop that delivered complete nutrition, essential oils, and textile fibers all from a single hardy plant: flax. The multi-purpose miracle. Linum usitisssimum. Vikings didn't just grow flax for linen, they harvested the seeds as a crucial source of omega-3 fatty acids and protein. Flax could survive in poor soils and short growing seasons where other crops failed. The entire plant provided food, fiber, and even medicine, making it the ultimate survival crop that delivered multiple essential resources from a single planting. The nutritional profile of flax seeds reads like a modern superfood label. They contain more omega-3 fatty acids than fish, providing essential fats crucial for brain function, heart health, and inflammation control during stressful survival situations. The seeds also provide complete proteins with all essential amino acids, making them capable of sustaining life even without other protein sources. Vikings would grind flax seeds into meal, press them for oil, or eat them whole for concentrated nutrition. Flax's growing characteristics make it perfect for harsh northern climates. The plant can tolerate frost and grows well in cool, moist conditions that challenge other crops. It actually prefers shorter growing seasons and cooler temperatures, making it ideal for northern settlements where other oil and protein crops couldn't survive. The plant is naturally resistant to most pests and diseases, requiring no chemical inputs that might not be available during crisis situations. The fiber production from flax was equally important to Viking survival. The stems contain long, strong fibers that could be processed into linen thread and cloth. This provided Vikings with clothing, rope, fishing nets, and sails, all essential for survival in harsh climates. The ability to produce both food and fiber from a single crop made flax incredibly valuable when resources were limited. Vikings developed sophisticated processing techniques for both the seeds and fibers. The seeds were harvested when fully mature and could be stored for years without losing nutritional value or viability. They could be eaten raw, ground into flour, or pressed for oil using simple wooden presses. The oil was used for cooking, lamp fuel, and even as a wood preservative for boats and buildings. Modern research confirms flax seeds can remain viable for years when properly stored, making them ideal for long-term food security. They're like having a health food store that grows in conditions too harsh for a vegetable garden. But if you think flax is impressive for its multiple uses, there's one final crop that provided complete nutrition while requiring absolutely no care. Hemp, the indestructible superfood. Cannabis sativa. Before modern prohibition, Vikings grew hemp as one of their most valuable crops. The seeds provided complete protein and essential fatty acids, while the fiber created rope and cloth stronger than anything else available. Hemp could grow in marginal soils and harsh conditions where other crops struggled, making it perfect for survival situations where reliability and nutrition were matters of life and death. Hemp's nutritional profile is unmatched in the plant kingdom. The seeds contain all 9 essential amino acids in perfect ratios for human nutrition, making them a complete protein source that could theoretically sustain life indefinitely. They also provide the ideal 3-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids that modern nutritionists recommend for optimal health. Vikings unknowingly created one of the most nutritionally complete foods available, providing everything needed for survival in a single hardy crop. The growing characteristics of hemp make it the ultimate survival crop. It requires no pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers, and actually improves soil health by adding organic matter and preventing erosion. The deep taproot can penetrate 9 feet deep, accessing nutrients and water from depths other plants can't reach while breaking up compacted soil layers. Hemp can grow in almost any soil type, from sandy to clay, and tolerates both drought and excessive moisture. Hemp's hardiness extends to temperature tolerance as well. The plants can survive light frosts and continue growing in cool conditions that stop other crops. They're naturally resistant to most pests and diseases, and their rapid growth allows them to outcompete weeds without cultivation. A single hemp plant can produce 1 to 2 pounds of seeds, making it incredibly productive for the space it occupies. Vikings used every part of the hemp plant for survival. The seeds were eaten raw, ground into flour, or pressed for oil. The oil was used for cooking, lamp fuel, and preserving wood and leather. The leaves could be eaten as vegetables when young, and the stalks provided fiber for rope, cloth, and paper. Even the roots had uses. They could be processed into a fiber suitable for making coarse cloth or cordage. Modern research confirms that hemp seeds are one of the most nutritionally complete foods available, containing 20 to 25% complete protein, 30 to 35% healthy fats, and significant amounts of minerals. Industrial hemp seeds are available through licensed suppliers in states where legal. They're like having a complete nutrition system that thrives on neglect and harsh treatment. These 12 forgotten seeds represent more than just historical curiosities. They're a blueprint for true food security. What's remarkable is how accessible these varieties remain today through heritage seed companies and specialty suppliers. While modern agriculture focuses on high-maintenance crops that require perfect conditions, Vikings mastered plants that actually thrive under stress. Start with 1 or 2 varieties that appeal to you most. Perhaps the 6-row barley for its incredible hardiness, or the naked oats for their convenience. Your future self will thank you for rediscovering these nuclear winter-proof crops that our ancestors knew were the ultimate insurance policy.